And the White House parting shots against Russia and Israel are a sharp contrast from the early days of what was initially dubbed the drama-free administration. The president's actions stunned critics and supporters alike, and there are still 3 weeks to go before he closes up shop. Fox News politics editor Stirewalt is here to help put it all in perspective, perhaps make it a little bit more easy for us to understand. First and foremost, I want to start with Russia, if I may. What type of landscape and challenges does this present for President-elect Donald Trump going forward? And were you surprised when you saw the move by President Obama?
I was surprised at the Goldilocks approach that he tried to take, but maybe I shouldn't have, because that's sort of been the style of he's used in international stage. He didn't go hard. He didn't go heavy against Russia, but neither did he let it pass. So he tried to thread the needle with this mostly symbolic response. Putin called his bluff. And said, oh, never mind, I'm not even affected by it. It was a way for Putin to reinforce what he has depicted as Obama as weak on the world stage, America as feckless or not effective. So Putin, in choosing to ignore it, gets to backhand Obama on the way out.
I heard, I read actually over the weekend someone say, it's not what Vladimir Putin said, it's what he didn't say. Is there a little bit of a warning there? Is there room for manipulation going forward?
Donald Trump is going to find when he gets in that it is much harder to be. Russia, we think of Russia, Americans tend to think of Russia as a weak power, as sort of a backward country, and it does have a weak economy and it has all these problems. Russians think of themselves as major players on the world stage. Vladimir Putin sees himself as every bit the equal to the President of the United States. And I think that you will see that as he and Donald Trump start sparring as what Putin thinks of as equals, the two nuclear superpowers, and that's the way Putin sees it. As that goes on, it's going to be hard to maintain this chummy relationship that Trump and Putin have had, because sometimes the United States and Russia have coterminous interests. Oftentimes they do not.
So we may see another reset button, maybe one that's spelled correctly.
Spelled correctly, yes.
Right, but the same red button. I want to move on to Israel. We saw a cryptic tweet, Donald Trump writing in part, President-elect rather, that things will be different come January 20th. So what will things look like come January 20th, and how will he change the relationship if it needs to be changed?
Talking about the misunderstandings of Obama and domestic policy and foreign policy, part of the reason that Donald Trump won the Republican nomination and won the presidency was because Barack Obama didn't understand really what American voters were saying and was not able to accommodate. He said, the economy is doing slightly better, things are getting better, you should be happy, why aren't you taking Hillary Clinton? He didn't understand the frustrations underneath. He has time and again misapprehended Israeli politics, which is this. He wanted Benjamin Netanyahu out. He wanted to defeat him. His allies, political allies, worked to try to defeat Netanyahu. That was obviously their hope. And at the end, to allow the UN resolution to go through, number one, and then number two, to allow his Secretary of State to stand on the world stage and really upbraid Netanyahu and Israel.
For a long time.
At length, at enormous length. Doing that, what does that do? That strengthens Netanyahu's hand. All of these things make Netanyahu and his Likud party stronger in Israel, not weaker. So Obama leaves the world stage with an empowered Netanyahu and conservatives empowered over there, and Donald Trump coming in with, if anything, almost a mandate to take Netanyahu's side and be more aggressive as it comes to settlements and all those other things.
You've probably gotten this question a lot. Would we have seen that same UN resolution abstention if Hillary Clinton won the presidential?
I bet not. I bet not. I think one of the things that Hillary Clinton failed to do, and it was a tough spot, was to articulate why her foreign policy was more hawkish. Barack Obama had a plan, and that was to increase the role of Iran, increase the role of Moscow in balancing out the Middle East, right? The U.S. had a foreign policy that was predicated on the Saudis in the Gulf states and the Israelis. And that's how we did the Middle East, certainly in the Bush era and prior to that. Obama wanted a rebalancing where Russia and Iran would step up and take on more of the role. Well, he got it, but I don't think people are very happy with it, and I don't think that he's happy with the way it turns out. Hillary Clinton could hardly come in, having served as his Secretary of State, though, and say, this guy was all wet, it didn't work. If she would have been able to, it's something voters probably would have liked.
Okay, I want to bring it back home as we wrap up our conversation, and I want to play a soundbite for you, because so much of President Obama's presidency was based on executive action and some not necessarily laws, but regulations with the stroke of a pen. So I want you to play a soundbite for you and then get your reaction. Take a listen.
Whenever I can take steps without legislation to expand opportunity for more American families, I will. I've got a pen and I've got a phone. A pen to take executive action.
Okay, so we talk about regulations, executive actions. President Obama signed 3,853 new rules and regulations, the highest one during 1 year. So during his 8-year tenure, it was this year, it was his highest number of regulations. According to a survey by the Competitive Enterprise Institute, that amounts to 18 rules and regulations for every law passed by Congress, taking up more than 97,000 pages to publish the fine print. That's a lot of paperwork and a lot of actions and regulations passed without Congress.
Now, we should remember that we live and have lived in the United States in an administrative state for the last at least 40 years, but probably more like 80 years, in which Congress has delegated a lot of its responsibilities to the executive branch. So some of that is just normal and natural in the course of business here. But what is funny, not ha-ha, but what is interesting about this moment politically, Democrats urged and encouraged the president to expand executive authority again and again and again, and defended things that even include what would have shocked the sensibilities of many Democrats before, like keeping kill lists for drone strikes, for arguing that Americans could be killed without trial under suspicion of terrorism, vast expansions of presidential power. They did not imagine that they would be handing that over to Donald Trump. And they have expanded the power of the presidency substantially, and they are handing it over to a person who they're just terrified by.
And the House and the Senate, too.
And the House and the Senate,
Happy
too.
New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, Chris, for breaking it down. We love having you on the show.
It's going to be a great one.
I appreciate it.